So if you remember back when we were talking about cell parts, we said that the cell membrane is selectively permeable, meaning it allows some things in and some things out. Not everything can pass through the cell membrane. So that's where the selectively comes in, whereas it's selecting which things it can allow in and out. And so that's going to happen through the cell membrane. There are a couple different types of transport or crossing the cell membrane that takes place. There's two main types. There's passive transport and active transport. Passive transport means that whatever is passing that is allowed to pass through the cell membrane goes from the high concentration area to the low concentration area. And because what it's trying to do is it's trying to even things out. And so no energy is needed to do this. And so I gave the example of class of trick-or-treating. So let's say you've gone trick-or-treating and you come home and you count all you dump out your candy out and you start counting, you separate it into like Snickers and Skittles and all those different parts. And then your sibling if you have a sibling, is doing that as well. And you count how many pieces you have. And let's say you had like 88 pieces and they have 64. And you kind of give them the haha, got more than you. And then maybe your mom or your dad or your grandma or somebody says you need to share because your sibling is upset because they don't have as much candy, and you're like, oh, fine. And so you give them some of your candy. It's kind of the same idea with passive transport. So there's two types of passive transport. The first one is diffusion here. Diffusion, it says, is the movement of molecules from a high concentration to low concentration. So it's kind of like the high number. Like I had 88 pieces of candy and my brother had 64 pieces of candy. So I have to share some of that with them. So let's look here. So we have 88%, let's say salt, which isn't realistic, but we're just going to go with it right now. 88% salt inside the cell and 64% salt outside the cell. So the inside of the cell has a bigger number. So it needs to share some of its molecules with the outside of the cell. So the salt will go out of the cell because it's going from a bigger number to a lower number. That's where the high concentration and low concentration comes in. Now, now another type of cell transport or passive transport is osmosis. Osmosis is the same thing as diffusion, only its difference is what it moves. It's still going from high concentration to low concentration, but it's moving water. It's focusing on the water rather than the other molecules, because diffusion, remember, is moving sugar, salt, different molecules like that, whereas osmosis is focusing on the water. So again, we are going to go from the high number to the low number. So we have a bigger number outside of the cell, the lower number inside the cell, and so the water is going to move into the cell because it goes from the big number to the little number. It's sharing. Because with us it's trying to reach equilibrium, or where these two numbers are equal to each other. So that's what's going on here. The last type of transport is active transport. So passive transport, remember, went from high to low concentration and didn't require energy. Active transport is the exact opposite of this, where it's going from the low number to the high number. So it's almost like if you have your bowl full of candy and your sibling has a bowl full of candy, you steal some of their candy away, well, they're going to put up a fight. So there's some energy that is going to be required to get that candy away from them. Same thing with active transport. You need energy, or you're going to use energy in order to get that bigger number even bigger and the lower number smaller. So here we have, again, the big number and the little number. It's like I have 12 pieces of candy and my sibling has 6. And I'm going to steal some of their candy. It's going to take some energy to do that. So I'm going from the little number to the big number. So in this case, the materials are going to move into the cell even though that there's a higher concentration inside the cell.